Hi, this is Tony Ruggiero here on the Tour Coach. If you're looking to get better at coaching, teaching, or playing the game of golf, you're in the right spot. I'm about to take you behind the scenes, inside the ropes, with all of the people I meet on my journey in the game of golf that are here to shed some experiences and shed some information that's going to help your journey improve and get better. Get ready. Let's go. Let's get better. Joining us here on the Tour Coach, another from the golf house here in PGA, just down the road from Old Palm, and been down here. We've been cranking them out. Good to have Dr. Greg Cartin pop in for the day. Was it just for the free beer, or did you actually enjoy the work today?
The wings, the beer. No, the work was great today. It was fun.
Good. Yeah. Will McFadden, he doesn't have to go home till when? I don't know. You've been down.
He won't leave.
I don't have to leave till the 24th.
I mean, been
here since January 1st.
Between you and I's schedule, I don't know. And then Morgan Hale, who hails from the Creek Club, director of instruction at the Creek Club, and obviously hangs out with us all the time and hanging out with us. So Mo, good to have you.
Thanks, Steve.
And don't forget Niz behind the scenes over there. She's the commander in chief of the Dew Sweepers and my assistant and everything that goes with that. I thought we'd talk about practice today a little bit. I thought we had some cool stuff in the Bay, and then I want you to comment a little bit on some of the stuff you've done. Even we did with James, and you did some of that stuff, and then some of the stuff you did out there, with Jim and his daughter, and talking a little bit practice and the stuff like, with David this evening, I thought was fantastic. You said I hate to blow you up, make your head get big, but like some really good stuff today. We had a lot of questions from students on how to transfer what we give them in the lesson to playing on the course. Mm-hmm. You had some good answers and some good solutions. Talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind, like what you saw us doing with people, and how can we as teachers, or how can he as a player get more out of the lesson and transfer it to the golf course better. Sure. And I'm going to sit back. I'm going to hang up and listen.
No, and I think that's one of the biggest issues that people struggle with is they hit the ball great in the range, and they have a struggle. Well, I never hit it as good when I play as I do, when I'm practicing. And I think that's true for most people. And I think you can only do so much in terms of making a lesson or a practice session feel like it does when you're competing. But I think the one thing that I've found to be super helpful, and we talked about this a lot today, is look, you guys do a lot of technical work. There's a lot of position stuff. There's a lot of numbers. But because people get so wrapped up in that, they fail to have any awareness of how their body feels. And I think bringing a feel with you to the golf course is one way that you take what you're doing and bring it to the golf course. It keeps it simple. You're not thinking about positions. You're not thinking about your face and your path and all that stuff. So having you do the work, you guys do the work, and then having them pause in a position where you want them in, and then having them really pay close attention to where they feel that. And now that's what you're going to try to recreate when you get back to the golf course.
I always go back to this story, and it actually might have been Dawson Farney. We were talking about him in the parking lot of Publix last night, actually.
He's on the Mount Rushmore.
His truck was there.
but I remember we were on the range at the old Country Club of Mobile, way before there was a facility built, when we had that green tent out there, the original dome. And I had him doing something, and I said, "What's this feel like?" And he said whatever it was, and I said, "No." And you jumped on my ass. You were like, "Whoa.
Yeah.
You don't know what it feels like to him." And I said, "Well, I don't think it should feel like that." Right?
Yeah.
And he's like, "I don't care." You were like, "I don't care if he says it feels like pepperoni pizza."
Yeah.
If that's what it feels like, it feels like.
Right.
And that was kind of, I always use that, Mo, I know, and Will heard me use that analogy, but like that kind of awakened me as a teacher a little bit about like to be careful as a teacher to not like assume what they should feel or put upon what we think it should feel like, which I think I used to probably not be great at it, to be fair. But like since that, I try to, because sometimes I'll ask them, "What's this feel like?" And they'll say something, and I'll be like, "Are you sure?" Why don't you think about that again?
But it goes the other way too. You're right. Is whereas the student assumes they're in the right position,
Mm-hmm.
right? That you're telling, but it's not, and that they have no idea what it feels like. But just because you got them up there or you're telling them what to do, that they assume that they can just bring that with them or transfer that too. So that's why feel is I think so critical in making the transition from the lesson tee or the practice area to the golf course. And it's simple.
And so I'm going to transition to Mo.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about Jim today and how we've been working on loading.
Right.
And comes over the top. And he had that training aid with the noodle that he had absolutely beat the hell out of. I've never seen a noodle. I mean, I'm going to tell you what.
We might need to tape that up.
That thing needs to look like, I don't know. I mean, that thing was something.
Beat up.
Yeah. And anyways, he thought what he was doing and feeling was what we were asking him to do. Right. And so it's interesting to me how, like, you've worked with them online, and it's interesting to me how sometimes people think they're doing what we ask them to do. And the further it gets away from their time with us, the less they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, that's important. Like, you do a great job with posted a bunch on Instagram the other day of all these good kids you're working with. Like, I think that's kind of the challenge, is like helping them figure out ways to monitor it themselves.
Right.
Right. Like, so that they actually know, if going back to the feel thing, like, so they actually know if they're doing what the heck we're asking them to do. Right.
Yeah. And I think that's where we went from full swing out on the practice holes to do pitch shots and short game. Right.
Which, by the way, I think is a cool thing about where you are at the creek. I like that. And Will, I'm going to take you there this summer. I haven't even been invited yet, but we're going to take
I'm
you.
going to take you there.
And then, Greg, you got to come up there.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
It's down there for me, but I will come down.
I don't even know what to say. It used to be my podcast. But anyways, you could walk right down there. I know when we had that group, you walked right down there and you hit some pitches and stuff. I thought that was kind of cool. But anyways, not to steal.
No, I was just going to say, I think we saw a lot of progress just going out there and slowing them down and just basically doing the same thing we were doing on full swing, but hitting, 50-yard pitch shots with both of them, him and his daughter, and talking through the same things we did and just slowing it down. And I think he got a better feel for what he was doing, just by kind of breaking it down, where when you're working on full swing, they always want to go faster and longer. And, as you say slower, they still go faster,
right?
But kind of breaking it down to that. And then I think the other thing to go along with what you were talking about, we give them 3 or 4 exercises that ultimately, you get the same goal, right? With their body. You're trying to get them to feel that. But then when they go out on the course, they've got to pick one thing that they feel, not, try to reach for 3 or 4 things. And so we went on one of the practice holes at the end and just had them hit some iron shots after we did a lot of pitch shots. And I had them hit with their iron and with both feelings. Like, one of them, for instance, felt like they were getting width with one shot, and then one of them felt like they were getting, into more of an L position, which ultimately was the same result, but it was just which one worked for them.
Yeah.
And so they did that and found what worked for them and wrote that down. And it was very clear, like, they got the result they wanted with that thought. Does that make sense? For
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
But that's getting back to the Dawson thing. Like, people could.
How did we pull Dawson Farney back into one of
I don't know. It's a blast from the past.
Beauty.
But that people can. You don't know what they're feeling,
right?
So have them describe it to you, or, but it's important that you as instructors, though, get them in the position that you feel is right before they can really get into that feeling.
So let's turn to you as a.
I think, like,
go ahead.
As far as like feelings, like on the golf course is great, and like
nothing more than feelings.
For me, it's always helped. Like, whenever we get feelings in the bay, like when I go out there on my own, to eliminate variables on the practice tee, like practicing, like as far as like I might be getting that feeling.
You're coming at
but
this
I'm-
from a player's perspective.
Right. So like for me, when I'm practicing, I want to eliminate the variable of aim and setup and all of that. Right. So I've got to have something on the ground on the practice facility to help make sure that I'm not aiming it wrong. So that if I get in those feelings, the ball might not be doing what I want it to do. Well, it could be because of my aim. So I got to have something down there to eliminate
That happened
that
to us
variable.
today with Yvette, where
Yeah.
she wasn't aimed right. And that was what it took. You can't make any judgments based on how something feels if you're not aimed
Right.
right.
Mhm.
Correct. You got to eliminate the variable of aim
Yeah.
in order to get the feeling proper on the practice tee.
And going back to you this week, you said, "Hey, I filmed something. Let's take a look at it." And you talked about, in a slow speed, you could do it, right? And you could
Right.
feel it, and how different it felt. And I think that's a key. And I think that, I've got an LPGA girl text me, and hard to get her to slow down, right? Like, I think that's one thing. Like, they want immediate results,
Mhm.
and sometimes to make a change, you have to go very slow. But it's hard to do.
Right. And a lot of it, like, that's the amazing thing about what y'all do with
Hey, Miz.
the band stuff in the bay in there is like you have to train your body to do the moves that we're trying to do. Like we talked about it this morning with my swing, like my body's perfectly capable, like mobility wise, to do what we want it to do, but my body's not trained to do it for that feeling. So I need to use those bands and do the
Right.
movements to train my body to move in that pattern. Right.
Mhm. So, any advice like you give a player going through trying to learn to do a new movement and ways to take it onto the golf course when they got to play?
Yeah, I mean, I think this happens to a lot of, well, it happens to all golfers, but average golfers or club golfers who don't have a lot of time, and they assume, well, I got an hour on the range. I'm going to hit as many balls as I can in this hour, right? And we always come back. It's more about being efficient and hitting each shot with some intention. So hitting balls at a really slow speed and starting to ingrain some of that. But then having some random practice, like after we did some drills with those guys and have them set up even on the mat and hit to a different target, they struggled.
Yeah,
Right?
that's what was interesting to me today. Like just that part of
Yeah.
how the first one, they
Yeah.
really,
And
really
also,
struggled.
you said something great today that I see a lot.
Wait a minute,
of
hold
teaching.
on. Hold on. I want everybody to remember that.
But it's okay to hit the bad shot. That doesn't mean you're not getting into the right position or the right feeling.
Yeah, right.
See, I think, and this, I mean, everybody gets it. Like I always go back to my old days with my mentor. Like, and he had everybody say hi to Niz. Niz, turn around, say
Bartender.
hi. Yep. This might be your first appearance.
How about that
actually. No,
pour?
you were in the.
Perfect.
But people assume that if they're trying to do something, that they're doing it, right? And it never occurs to them, especially like, where you're dealing with successful people or very talented people, and they assume that if they're trying to do something, they're doing it. So they assume if they hit a bad shot, that what they're trying to do is wrong, when that isn't the case.
No, there's so many other variables.
They're like what Will said, it could be aimed wrong, ball could be in the wrong spot, or
Just not there
it's
yet.
just new and they haven't figured out how to find the ball yet.
Yeah, or even as simple as there was some wind today, right? And she was, it's not falling this way. Well, it's blowing 30 miles an hour the other way.
She's
You don't
the
realize
worst at understanding how much the wind affects it.
But you don't realize, and to be fair, you don't realize that when you're in the bay as much. I mean, you just
Can't
look,
feel
but
it in there.
You can't feel anything. So it is a little bit different, but there's so many other variables that are come into play where you can't judge every single shot. And in fact, when you're making those changes, a lot of guys, they're not hitting it great yet, right? But the move is right, and over time, that'll start to happen.
And I think, personally, the secret to becoming great is you figure out whatever it is you need to do. And I think the great ones have a belief that where they are willing to buy into it and stay with it, even if the results aren't there till they can do it.
Well, that's part of the trust they have for you guys as teachers, too.
Whereas, and I think that speaks a lot to guys like, we went out to see Butch. I think that all of his success and what he's done and his belief in what he does. I watched him once, with one tour, and you watch that and how he communicates. And I think because of that, his players buy in because he's the best that's ever done it. So they have that right, and they're willing to listen. Whereas I think when you're a younger teacher and you're starting out, players don't buy in as much, and so forth. But I agree with you. I think that like the key to success is getting people is, if you're a player, from a player's perspective, is believing. I think you're better off believing the wrong shit if you really jumped in and bought into it and you stayed on it till you could do it. Better than trying something different every week.
The old, like, you're going to make a better swing and hit a better shot if you have the wrong club but think it's right versus the right club and think it's wrong.
Right.
And that's just the power of our belief in what we're doing. So
how can we help people believe more and stay with stuff?
I mean, there's no magic to that. It's building relationships with students and having them trust what you're telling them, really. And belief doesn't mean you don't have to see success to believe where you're going, right? You can believe that you're doing something right even if you don't see immediate results. And that in golf, that's what we'd call patience.
Yeah. I also think, and you can speak to this, got a guy, James, we made a pro work about him. He's had an unbelievable, like he's basically, for all purposes over the last 2 years, just started playing golf. He's like a 10 to 11 handicap now or whatever he is. But like understanding also that you don't have to hit it perfect to play good golf. And I think there's this everybody today, it's the Monday of the Players Championship playoff. Like people think that those guys just hit it great for 72, 75 holes, right? Like I don't think, they see the highlights, but they don't see the places that they missed it and that they made bogeys and that, I think there's, people coming up and learning to play. They think that to be good, you don't ever hit bad shots. And you said that to James yesterday, like you're going to hit bad shots. And he didn't understand. I mean, at first he didn't think that that's true. That like, if you work hard enough and build a good swing, you'd never hit a bad shot.
Well, he said that. He said he thought that he could build a perfect golf swing and that would solve everything. And
it's also amazing how our minds work in that one bad shot could ruin everything, but it takes thousands of good shots to maintain, your optimism. And it only takes one bad one to
and all the demons come back, right? And I've known tour players like that one go along before under one big right miss, the high and they make a double and then a double and whatever. So it's amazing how that works.
Yeah,
it was a good day in the Bay.
Yeah,
great day.
Well, y'all
really good day.
Y'all said like how do you teach yourself to believe? Like I don't know if you can. It takes, or I know you can, but it takes a long time to do that, right? Like to train your mind that can't make. Like you can't get mad at bad swings. We can get mad at bad decisions, but bad swings are going to happen.
Yeah, so that's belief is more like an expectation management skill. Understanding that, like if you were to go play a round of golf and you knew 90% of your shots were going to be pretty good and 10% not so good, you'd probably take that, even at your level.
Every day.
Yeah, in the moment one, we hang on that one. So it's hard.
It is hard. And as teachers, I think it's hard when you're dealing with players of all, but that's a hard thing to communicate because you're going to still hit bad shots. I always think we should make their misses better, probably make their good shots better, but they're still going to hit bad shots, right? Helping them manage that. So anyways, great day in the Bay. Doc, thanks for coming up. I know you're going to come up and we're going to hang out with Emilio and Luke on Wednesday and have some fun. Mo, I know you're down here tomorrow working with me again, and then you're off to another one of your islands, but that's fine. And Ms. is not going to be with us after tomorrow either. I mean, I don't mean that we're firing her or that she's dying. I just mean she's not going to be here.
Will's going to be down here for another
Will's
month.
Not going anywhere.
Will's going to be down here till September 3rd.
TBD.
Saturday. Supposed to leave Wednesday. Saturday.
Of a month ago. Anyways, great stuff. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you like the tour coach. Everybody say hi to Diz.
It is.